cash flow is a verb. So to understand if it's an asset or liability, it takes a noun plus verb. So if the cash is flowing out of your pocket, it's a liability. If the cash is flowing into your pocket, asset verb, it's an asset. So I own 7,000 rental properties. Those are assets. Every month, the cash flows in. Whereas many people have the big house on the hill and the cash is flowing out.
Right.
And they're going broke.
Right. It's like a frame of mind. The other thing the poor don't understand is the number one expense for most people is taxes. And yet we don't even see it. Isn't that weird? You walk around and you look at the paycheck and say, that doesn't seem right. And you don't realize that the government's got a huge hand in your pocket and you are doing nothing to minimize that. Again,
Correct.
This is what's very different about the rich and the poor.
Well, the reason the rich don't work for money is number one expense is tax. See, there's three kinds of income: earned, portfolio, passive. So earned income is if I get a job, that's earned income. If I'm a doctor or a programmer, that's earned income because I'm working for it. If I buy, let's say, Apple for $10 and I sell it for $20, that's portfolio income, capital gains.
Yeah.
But passive income, which is cash flow, is never taxed. So it's not, and so these guys are screaming right now in America, tax the rich. I said, good luck. Because most of the guys complaining, they don't know there's three kinds of income. And the rich don't have jobs anyway. They have assets. And so the average schmo out there, poor guy, sent the kid to school. They don't learn this. So that's why in Fake, as you were talking about it, there's that newspaper article about Jared Kushner.
Yeah.
And he explains how the Trumps and the Kushners don't pay taxes and make millions of dollars. And the reporter couldn't understand him because our schools will never teach you that three types of income.
And they judged him and say they're wrong and it's cheating. And we see that over and over again. Amazon not paying taxes. What do you say to people when they come up to you and say, Robert, it's not fair. It's not fair they're not paying taxes.
Well, there's always three sides to a coin, heads, tails, and the edge. So which side of the coin are you on? From my side, it's fair. But this is the difference. Everybody can do the same thing I do because the tax laws are for everybody. We don't say, well, the tax law is only for the rich. No, the tax laws are for everybody to use if you have the right financial education. And the reason I'm an advocate of financial education, without that education, you have to pay taxes. You see, very few people will buy what I do, make $1 million and pay zero tax. And my rich dad taught me that playing Monopoly. That's how it started, 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Or the McDonald's formula. I write about it here. McDonald's, Ray Kroc.
Yeah.
McDonald's is in the real estate business. So they sell hamburgers, but they buy real estate, so they pay no taxes. This guy Bezos, he's $16 billion. How much tax did they pay on that $16 billion? Zero.
And that's all legal. Anyone can do it.
Everybody can do it.
But most people lack the education.
Correct.
So Jared learned about money when he was a kid by watching his father, by watching these people invest in real estate, and said, wow, not only do you get to make the money, you get to keep the money. That's a big problem a lot of people don't understand. They, look how much money I made, but how much did you keep? Because that could be half.
How much tax did you pay?
Right, what tax did you pay? And so you always say, this is the law. The law is true for every citizen. You can do it, but most people just don't do it. Sometimes, like you said, they don't have the education, but you need to have a plan if you're going to go do risky things.
Well, it's not risky. I mean, to me, what's risky is having a job and paying taxes.
Yeah.
And saving money because they're printing it. That's the worst thing of all. And that's why there's fake money, fake teachers, because the teachers they don't know it.
Right.
And fake assets, because Wall Street or the City of London or Lehman Brothers or Goldman and all, they're not going to tell you this.
Yeah.
How are there billionaire bankers today? Aren't they supposed to be watching your money,
Yeah, I want to talk about that. You said in here also, the greatest asset you have is your mind. What does that mean?
Well, because money doesn't exist anymore. Inside Fake, I cover the infinite return. When I came back from Vietnam in '73, January of '73, my poor dad said, get your MBA. And my rich dad laughed. And so I asked my,
Why did he laugh? Why did your rich dad laugh?
He says, because you're going to turn out to be an employee. Who else hires guys with MBAs? You know what I mean? He was just pragmatic about it. He says, if you really want to be rich, take a class on real estate. And I said, why is that? He says, I didn't know at the time, but once you understand real estate is based on debt. And he says, you will learn how to use debt as money, because that's what happened in 71. The US dollar became debt.
Right.
So once you learn how to use debt as money, you can never say, I can't afford it. You see, because the banks will give you, so the banks, after the crash of 2008, the banks gave me $300 million tax-free to buy real estate that the idiots had lost. I hate this, and they were idiots because the prices were so high. Why would you buy it at the top of a market? Don't you know that's going to crash? Oh, no. This is, that was the subprime, was the derivatives market, the MBSs and all that stuff, had driven the price of real estate so high, and the rest of us were just waiting. And then when the whole thing came crashing down, all this real estate was now available, and they needed, the Fed and those guys in the Treasury needed guys like us to go in there. So Wall Street gave us hundreds of millions of dollars to mop up all that real estate these guys had lost. Now, it's fair because everybody could do it.
Right.
So, when I asked the average guy, I said, why don't you use debt? They can't even get a loan because their scores, their FICO scores, they don't even have them here, are so bad.
Right.
So that's what's going on in the world today. It's fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. The school teachers will never tell you that because they don't know it. My poor dad never knew that. And they think the rich are crooks. The rich just play by different laws. The rules are the same, but you have to do what the government wants you to do.
Talk to me about these fake assets and what do people have to know about them? We were talking about my history in the crisis. I remember in '98 when the Russian ruble crashed.
Yeah.
Jim Rickards, our friend, was at Long-Term Capital Management. Yeah. I was trading derivatives at Bankers Trust and the First National Bank of Chicago. Yeah. And I saw them out there, and everybody wanted to do business with Long-Term Capital. It was a big hedge fund, and it nearly went bankrupt. But
LTCM nearly took down the world economy.
Yeah.
One hedge fund with these quote-unquote
fake assets.
Because nobody took in the counterparty risk to it.
Right, and they were highly levered because they were these rocket scientists, right?
They were Nobel Prize winners.
Yeah, Nobel Prize winners, Myron Scholes, and then one of the big guys from Salomon Brothers.
John Merriweather.
Yeah, Merriweather, who was in that book, Liar's Poker.
Yeah.
They went out there, and on their reputation alone, they didn't have the balance sheet to back it up. They got 20x leverage, 30x, 40x, 50x leverage, and they had massive positions. And when the ruble moved and markets moved, not only were they about to go bankrupt, but all the institutions that had lended money to them were about to go bankrupt.
The counterparty.
Yeah, the counterparty. And I saw this happening, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But how can you explain that to people, and then what do they need to know about fake assets to protect themselves, especially from this upcoming crash or crisis that's going to happen?
Can I give you a very simple...
Please.
Okay, I think I got it. This is... Because I like to, Rich Dad is important because they keep it simple. Okay, this here is a balloon. So in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So what did that mean? That meant the U.S. government, the U.S. Treasury, could now print money. So the U.S. Treasury would sell a bond to the Fed. Over here would be the Bank of England, Bank of Japan, ECB, and all this. So in 71, it was the U.S., not anybody else, basically screwed the world economy. So rather than fix the economy, they just did this. So things were fine. They fixed the economy. Inflation went through the roof. There's a dollar sign on it. And all this.
They're pumping money into the system.
So '87, there was, the real estate, everything's getting expensive. Inflation's going crazy in the '80s. '87 crash, big crash. Did anything happen? No, nothing happened. They just... So '87, it went like this, and then there was the LTCM plus the Southeast Asian crash, the rupiah crash, and all this.
Yeah, at the end of the '90s.
So what did Greenspan do? It was a Greenspan put, right? He says, oh, don't worry. We'll give the banks all the money they want so you won't crash. So the banks and Treasury and the central bank, the Fed and Bank of England, they're like keeping this thing up. So everything's inflated now.
They're pushing money into the system to prop it up every time.
Fake money.
Fake money.
This is fake money
Right.
going in. So then in 2000, the dot-com crash hits, goes. So Greenspan kind of panics and he says, oh my God, we better keep this thing going because that was a pretty big pop, you know?
Yeah, I was there.
So 2008, that's when everybody was into derivatives and, you know, pumping this baby up. And it did nearly come down. We had some Lehman came down and Bear Stearns was wiped out. And it was like this. So what did Bernanke and those guys do? More. So after 2008, they just kept pumping it, and it's getting worse. So now we have the stock market, this one area of the economy, all-time highs, floating on fake money. Real estate, I mean, I don't know how people can afford to live. You know, in New York, I was looking at a condo for $55 million. You know, real estate in Silicon Valley, you can't afford to live there. And then all these companies started borrowing money, so the economy's good, and you know, unemployment's low, and all this. They say there's no inflation, but have you seen the price of food, real estate, and student loans and medical? It's a bubble, you know. So now what's going to happen is the baby boomers, my generation, are going to start to retire. There's no money there. Social Security is broke, pensions are broke, the students are broke. You know, they're screwing everybody with debt. So let me ask you a question. This is called...
This is making me nervous.
I know. This is called, not economics, this is called bubblenomics. But they'll never teach you this in school.
And why do they keep printing money? Because they want to save something.
Because it's an addiction. You know, this is like heroin. The moment you take that one hit, they say, okay, I'll quit next week. And the economy gets worse, so they go, Trump gave us a tax cut in America. This thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So what happened in 2008, they stopped it by printing money. So they call it the Great Recession. But they didn't really fix anything.
Right.
You know, derivatives went from 700 trillion to 1.2 trillion today. Twice as much. And that is net. You know, doesn't tell the whole story. So when the recession hit, the PhD standard came in. That was Bernanke, you know, and then Yellen. The PhD said, they have PhDs. Well, it's no different than long-term capital, LTCM. They had Nobel Prize winners, people like my poor dad, academics, you know. So anyway, this is what's going on in the world economy today. So the baby boomers are going to retire now. Student loans are bust. So, do you have to be an economist to say what's going to happen? Because we're fighting a 12-year war now. Entitlements are going through the roof. National debt to GDP is 109 in America, 109%. 90% is too late. We have to keep printing. This is called bubblenomics, and this is what's going to happen. Got it?
I got it.
Is that economics 101?
Scary stuff.
It's happened to others.